Hello.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too. And who may you be? I like the room you're in. It's got a really good vibe.
Thank you. Thank you. So, my name is Tia Graham, and I live in a small city in Western Canada called Kelowna.
Okay. And what do you do, Tia?
I am the founder of a company called Arrive at Happy, and my mission is to inspire as many leaders and people around the globe to increase their own happiness and create really, really happy workplaces so that humans can thrive and reach their full potential.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
How,
And
how did
it goes well with kindness and
it,
hard work. And I also am obsessed with traveling. I worked in the hotel industry for 15 years. So I also love traveling like you.
amazing. So how did you get into the happy space?
So about 12 years ago or so is when I first had the idea. I was a director of sales and marketing in hotels. That was my previous career. And throughout sort of my 20s, people would always ask me, how do you stay so happy? Where do you get this positivity from? Even when there's huge challenges, how do you stay optimistic? So I remember thinking about 12 years ago, I believe I can help other people, whether it's genetics, my life choices, it's all of it. And that's when I first had the idea. I didn't do anything about it at that time. Fast forward, I went back to work after having my second daughter. I was leading a team in Los Angeles, and I was really, really struggling with my happiness with a 2-year-old and a newborn baby girl, and went back to work at this crazy executive job. And I started studying happiness for myself, because I was in such a low place, and basically have been on this quest and this journey to educate myself, as well as share everything that I continue to learn. And I basically started my own company, and I speak and write books and everything. So, but that's the catalyst was this second little girl and juggling it all.
Beautiful. So what is the secret to being happy?
Oh, such a great question. And I wish there was just one secret. I honestly think that there are many, many, but the very first step, I believe, is choosing it for yourself, and then choosing it. And I said this the other day, sometimes it feels like fighting for it, depending on what's going on in your life, but not giving up. So I think that's the foundation, at least.
It's interesting. I always say that kindness is a choice, because it really is. But the reality is that everything ultimately, to some degree, is a choice. Mm-hmm. And choosing happiness is the same as choosing kindness. Like, I can be mean to someone, or I can choose to not be mean to someone. So how do you get someone to actually choose, to actually understand that they have the power to choose to be happy? Because most people that I would imagine, when you say, oh, just choose to be happy, they'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. You don't know what my life is like, right? But it's beyond like up here in the mind. Mm-hmm. And it's something you have to feel, I believe. Yeah, I would say you'd have to feel that capacity to choose, that you really do have the power to choose. How do you make someone understand that on a heart level?
Yeah. No, I think it's mind, body, and soul, right? It's all of it. So, and I do come across a lot of skeptics. I work with all different types of organizations, law firms, bankers, tech companies, you name it. And there are a lot of people that have that perception, like, no, you can't just choose. Life is way more complicated than that. So I actually start off with the research. Everything I teach and everything I talk about is the research. And the research shows that, yes, our genetic history plays a part. I say I have brown hair and blue eyes because of my genetic history. I also get some of my personality because of my genetic history. And then I say, life circumstances do play a part. If you're a farmer in China with 8 children, or you're a single 23-year-old living in Manhattan, those are very different life circumstances. Those play a part. But the research shows that approximately, on average, about 40% of our happiness and our well-being is based on our daily choices. And we make thousands of them every single day. So that is the place that I start. And then I go on to share examples of choices you make that decrease your well-being and examples of choices you make that increase your well-being and being kind to others and, self-compassion. I mean, there's so many choices. So for people that say, like kind of how you asked about, I would say skeptical, usually I start with the research and have them actually see that science.
So what are, let's say, 3 choices that we can make to go down the path of happiness, and 3 choices that we can make, not that anyone would want to, but that we make to go down the path of not happiness?
Yes. So I will say both of those lists are extremely long. There's so many. I'll give you 3 of each. So 3 on the path to more happiness and well-being is intellectual well-being. So this is learning and growing. So being always a student, whether you're learning another language, learning guitar, learning about a culture, learning how to write a book, learning your boss's job, just spending time each week learning. Learning's directly connected to happiness. That's one. The second is helping others, whether that be helping people, helping animals, helping Mother Earth. Turning attention off of yourself and helping others is another very strong one. And then the third is human connection, time with friends, time with family. I know in your case, you spend a lot of great time with strangers. Human connection is actually the number 1 predictor of happiness. So increase your human connection time. On the other side is watching the news. So research shows if you watch the news, you're going to feel 30 to 35% more negative for the rest of the day. So I tell all my clients, don't watch the news, read the news. That's one. Scrolling endlessly and the addiction to social media increases depression and sadness and comparing lives. So of course, there's social media for good, but I would say be very conscious and intentional about your time with social media. And then another path to more happiness is spending time with people who are negative and pessimistic. Because of emotional contagion as humans, we cannot help but take in that energy. So there's 3 for both sides.
Yesterday, I was in a really good mood. I had just been to the editors. We were editing this new documentary. And I came home really happy. I was on my Vespa. I was listening to happy music. And I turned on the news. And I'm telling you, my whole day was ruined.
Yeah.
It's not normally that bad, but, it ruined my whole day. And to hear it from you, that 30 to 35%, what was it, 30 to 35%?
Yeah, that you will feel more negative.
That you will feel more negative for watching the news.
Yes.
Is very powerful because I experienced it yesterday.
Yes. And unfortunately, the news bombards people 24/7, because of our smartphones. And it's not like you just turn on the 6 o'clock news anymore and get the updates and go about the rest of your day in life. It is always there. It's important to stay informed, but you have to be, again, intentional about when you consume the news, how you consume the news. And also, on the flip side, there are news networks, like, for example, Positive News Network, that is sharing great things that are happening in society, around the planet. And there are great things happening every day. And I think we forget that. So we have to be very cognizant about what we're putting into our psyche. Think about your psychological well-being as much as your physical well-being.
Yeah. I've been to Canada many times, and I find the Canadians to be extremely kind and generally very happy. Right? How did you go from kind of, wanting more happiness in your own life to making it a movement and to inspiring others to be happier? You kind of touched on it at the beginning, but it's one thing to want to be happy. It's another thing to want other people all over the world to be happy. What was that? What happened there?
Yeah, it's such a great question. I mean, honestly, this is my calling. I think this is the reason I was put on this planet. And I don't feel it's me. I feel like it's like, I'm going to get spiritual on you. I feel like it's coming through me. I am a messenger of a message that needs to be told. And although I was doing it in the hotel industry, I was inspiring people, and I knew that I needed to touch and support more people. And it was in my journey, really the journey of increasing my own happiness for the sake of myself and my husband and my kids, that led me to the path of being an entrepreneur and starting my own company. But there were a lot of pivotal moments. I could think of one when the first year, it was, I think, 2018, and I attended the World Happiness Summit at the University of Miami. And I sat there in a room with thousands of other people from, and I just remember thinking, okay, there are others out there, I'm one of many, and in my sphere of influence with my connections, and I can do my part, so I sort of felt this connection to a bigger movement, and felt I'm going to take what I can and spread it as much as I can. And honestly, I can't believe that it's a business. I can't believe I get paid for what I do. It feels like such a wonderful opportunity and a gift. And I'll be doing it. Hopefully I live to be very old, but I'll be doing it until probably the day that I die.
Well, there you go. You mentioned how you love traveling. I would imagine that you've had some pretty life-changing travel experiences that have helped you to be able to share this message with the world.
Yes.
Can you share some of those travel experiences that really changed you and guided you to do what you do? Yes.
I mean, gosh, there's so many. And I think traveling is the biggest. And both my husband and I say, it's one of the main reasons we're alive is traveling. One that comes to mind is when I was 18, 19 years old. I was not very happy. I was living in freezing cold Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I had gone on a short trip to Mexico with my mom and my sisters. And we'd also gone on a trip to Costa Rica. And whenever we traveled with my mom, we didn't stay in big fancy hotels. It was always very local and cheap. I mean, it was traveling. It wasn't vacationing, it was traveling. And those experiences sort of broadened my perspective. And when I was 18, 19, really unhappy, really lost, partying way too much, had no idea what I was doing with my life, I went through these different motions and exercises, and I ended up moving to Honolulu, Hawaii by myself just at age 20. And that experience led me to start working in the travel industry and all of that, which was just life-changing. And two other ones that come to mind are, before my husband and I were married, we went and lived and worked in Istanbul, Turkey, and worked at a hotel there. And then had the opportunity to travel all around Turkey and the Middle East and different parts of Europe, which was uncomfortable and challenging, and then also just mesmerizing and so incredible. Last one I will say, there's lots, but with Arrive at Happy, with my company, I led a retreat for a global hotel company. And the retreat was in the Sacred Valley of Peru, and spent time with this global team. And of course, went to Machu Picchu and just had such an incredible experience there that again, pinch myself like, oh my gosh, I'm in Peru for work. This is incredible. So I always tell people spend money on experiences more than material possessions. I probably think that you're aligned with me there.
100%. I mean, to me, the money well spent is on an adventure, right?
Yes.
It is on an experience, experience and an adventure that makes you better, that enables you to maybe guide some others and takes you to a whole new level. And, when you buy a car, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with buying a car, but when you buy a car, yes, you need a car to get from A to B, but generally you're not going to have the experience of becoming a better human being by buying a car. But if instead of buying a really flashy car, you buy a simple car and the rest of the money is used to spend traveling around South America, you will come back as a far greater human being.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And inspire others and touch others. Yeah, absolutely.
So I wrote a book called Go Be Kind, and it was kind of an adventure book based on how to be kinder. So you would go out into the world and you would do like experiential things to help others, to help yourself, and generally to become kinder. Yeah. What kind of experiential things would you suggest that people can do in their lives, not necessarily getting on a plane and traveling thousands of miles, but just experiential things that they can kind of build that muscle towards peak happiness, let's say?
Yeah, and you're right. You don't need to hop on a plane and go to Peru or go to all the amazing places that you've been. You can do all of these things in your backyard. So for experiential things, I would say anything in Mother Nature, right? So whether that be skiing, snowboarding, hiking, swimming, all of that, if you can diversify and do different activities. For example, I've never tried rock climbing. I mean, I have indoor, but I don't think that counts. But the more that you can push yourself and stretch yourself to do physical activities where you are using your body and then you have to use your brain. This is the neurogenesis, right? Your brain is on fire and loves it if you're learning and exercising at the same time. Any type of meditation, prayer, presence, quiet. Also, there's so much research that meditation and prayer and sitting in stillness is a wonderful experience to increase your happiness as well. Anything you can do to help your community, whether that be with charity, with children, with animals. But again, this ties into your work, but giving and kindness and helping, definitely. Let's think of other experiences. Anything where you can also stretch your creativity, whether it be, dancing, painting, like I color with my kids. It sounds so silly, but I get so much happiness. It's like a bonus thing of parenting. It's just from doing anything artistic also that where you can relax. And another one I would also just say is talking to strangers. It's super, super sad. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but when you look around and everyone's standing around just looking at their phone, and I try to talk to people. I try not to annoy people, but I usually smile and try and talk to people and start conversations. So I think just engaging in people in the world too is a really awesome experience.
Yeah, I often, I'm in airports, as I'm sure you are, and I'll sit there and I'll look as I'm sitting down and everyone's on their phone.
Yeah.
Literally everyone is on their phone. And I try to think to myself, what was it like before everyone was on their phone? Were we speaking to each other?
Yes.
What were we doing? I mean, I don't think we can remember anymore, right?
I know. It makes me sad. I wish we could go back. I mean, there's so many conveniences, but the human connection piece, and especially being a parent and, with everyone, I don't know, like, I don't really necessarily want to go into the virtual reality. I like this human reality. Maybe that's just me.
No, I went talking about virtual reality. Virtual reality is crazy. That's for another podcast.
Yeah.
But so what do you say to someone who is deeply unhappy, for very many good reasons.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get them to see the world through your heart?
Mm-hmm. Such a good question. So for someone who's deeply unhappy, the first place that I would talk with them and connect with them is on acceptance, that they are going through a challenging season, a challenging time, and you are a human being, and this is the walk of the human being. Have them give themselves permission to be human and to not feel bad about themselves for feeling bad. There are, 80 or so really painful emotions, and there's another 70 or 80 of pleasant, feel-good ones. So the first place I would start with is acceptance, and having them talk about exactly what they're going through, what challenges, what they're feeling, all of their thoughts, and allow them to sit in that space and actually hold space for the challenge that they're going through. So many people push it down, try to, let's use the word mask it. Maybe they're watching Netflix or drinking wine or whatever to I'm just going to cope. And the research shows that when you actually move through the pain, you're going to deal with it in a more healthy way, and you're going to actually come out of it faster and in a more healthy way. So I wouldn't try and rush them out of it, I guess is the first part. And I know that that's with my own experience too. And then after that time of sitting there and really working through and getting really clear on what they're going through, I would then start talking with them on what's their desired future. You're here now, and that's okay that you're here. In 6 months or in 12 months, where do you want to be? If you had a magic wand and you could create and design your life, what would you want? What do you desire? And just allow them to talk, and I want to use the word paint, think about this future that they want, and get as detailed as possible, and think about how they want to think, how they want to feel, how they want to act, etc. And start with really, really baby steps. And I then would, I bring in the science of happiness research, I bring in the neuroscience research, and show them all of these proven tools. But I think as adults, we don't spend enough time pausing and allowing ourselves to really, really dream and think about, what do I want? What do I really, really desire? If I didn't settle, how would I have my life?
That was very profound. I'm going to ask you a personal question. When was the last time you were sad? And how did you become happy?
I was actually quite sad yesterday. And people ask me all the time, are you happy all the time? I'm like, no, even though I'm a happiness expert, I'm not, no one's happy all the time. So I was really sad yesterday because my eldest daughter, it has some, there's some different challenges. She's actually autistic, and she has this very rare profile of autism, and we're just sort of learning all about it. And because of that, some different aspects of life are extremely challenging for her. And as a mom, when she's going through challenges, I'm trying to get better at it, but I feel like I'm right there with her, connected to her, going through it, doing it. And it is, it makes me really sad when she's hurting. And so everything, after our kids went to bed, I was talking a lot about how I was feeling and what I was thinking and the fears that I have to my husband. So kind of like I said, I didn't just try and do it on my own. I talked with him. And when I woke up this morning, and this is a piece of advice I give, I woke up this morning and I thought, okay, what's something I'm excited about today? What's something that's I want to focus on the good. And, ironically, actually, because I did one other interview this morning, talking with other people, and because I feel like when I'm being interviewed, I'm hoping it's helping people who are listening, that actually it made me feel less sad, because the Dalai Lama always talks about this, is turn attention off of yourself. A lot of human suffering is because we think about ourselves, and I'm thinking about, oh, my poor daughter is going through these, as opposed to when I'm talking about happiness, and even to you, it's not about me, right? I hope people listening get something out of it. So, a very recent example of sadness for you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And I will share, because I put you on the spot a little bit. Yeah. So I'm going to share something similar, right? Okay. It was a couple of weeks ago, actually, that the first thing that came into my mind was I had this Zoom call set up with some kids, and about kindness and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was not in a good place. And I woke up in the morning feeling really depressed. And I had a decision to make. The decision was, do I get out of bed and do this chat with these kids? Or do I say to the teacher, oh, I'm really sorry, I'm not feeling well. I can't do the call. Yeah. And there was a voice in my head that said, Leon, trust me, son, do the call. So I did the call. I don't think they felt I was depressed. I was fine. But my point is that I understand what you just said, because when you connect and when you come out of yourself, and when you're sitting there, for you having interviews with me and whoever else you have interviews with, and for me in that moment having a conversation with 30 kids that are excited to have the conversation with this crazy man that traveled around the world, it helps them, hopefully, but it helps me too, right? Mm-hmm. And to sit here and hear you say, to be real, really, you were being real. You were like, I asked you that question, and there was truth that was coming out of you in a beautiful way. And I always say that as a kid, I would always listen to these preachers preach. And then the next day I'd look at the newspaper and I'd be like, and they'd be doing everything that they weren't preaching, right? They were not practicing what they preach. They weren't being genuine. They weren't being honest. And by answering the question that you did, the way you did, it makes me, anyway, I can't talk for anyone else, it makes me relate more to you, which then gives you more capacity to share your message, right? Because it's relatable. And I don't know, I think I'm waffling at this point, but what am I trying to say? I'm basically trying to say, thank you for your honesty, right? Because it's easy. Like, people always say to me, oh, you're the kindness guy. I remember once a kid put their hand up and said, Mr. Leon, have you ever been mean? And I was like, oh God, in a school of like 1,000 people, right? And my first reaction was like, ooh, I'm going to lie to the child. And my second reaction was, no, you're not. You can tell the child the truth. And the truth is, of course, I've been mean because I'm human just like you. And that's basically exactly what you just said, right? Yeah. You basically just proved your humanity to everyone that's listening to this conversation, and to me.
Yeah. And actually, I know that that's something that's challenging to a lot of people right now, because there are these personas or personalities or facades, and there's these expectations of how we should feel and how we should live and how we should be, whether it be in financial, career success, marriage, parenting, you name it. And in actuality, everyone goes through challenges, whether you're a politician, a celebrity, a TV host, a writer, a teacher, and so the more that we can openly share vulnerable stories, authentic truths of what it's like to be human, I think the more connected we'll all be. There's some people that are doing this more and more, and I think we all need more of it, because even though there's over 7 billion of us, sometimes being a human can be very isolating, right? When you wake up feeling depressed, or when I'm a parent feeling extremely, extremely sad, the times you feel like you're the only one, and the more open we can be and real and authentic we can be. In pretty much all of my happiness talks, I tell stories of when I wasn't happy and how I got back and how I continually choose it. So yeah, I think your stories of being unkind are probably just as powerful.
Indeed, they are.
Yeah.
So I asked you when the last time you were sad was,
and
you answered it very beautifully. My next question is, when was the last time you were deeply happy, and why?
Oh, the last time I was deeply happy. There's lots. Okay, I'll think of one. And this I was feeling, because happiness isn't an emotion. It's this sort of state. And it was in the month of January last month. I was in Los Angeles. I just launched, I have my first book called Be a Happy Leader. And of course, I know you have several books. So all of this culmination of work and attention and everything, and people that have been helping me do it. And when it came out, I didn't expect the outpouring of support from people. And I don't know why I didn't expect this. It's not like I didn't think anyone would support me, but during that week, the text messages, the videos, the messages on, LinkedIn and different social media challenges, people that I hadn't heard from in 14 years, saying like, oh my gosh, Tia, I'm so proud. Like, thank you for this. I can't wait to read it. And the happiness I felt it was almost like I was being held. I don't know if that sounds weird or not, but it felt like there were all these people, and probably because I've lived in different places, that there are all these people almost like giving me a warm hug. And it wasn't about book sales. It wasn't, it was just this connection of people supporting me. And it made me feel so grateful, pride and just gratitude. Like, oh my gosh, thank you, everyone. So that's the time when I felt really happy. So that was about a month ago.
So you felt, I would say, you felt held. You felt seen, and you felt heard. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
Isn't that kind of what we all want at base?
Yes, absolutely. And I would say, I think we also all want to be validated, right? Whether it's how you're feeling or the work that you do, or, being a good partner in marriage, however, of that, that you're understood, I think too, is also a really big human need that we have. Yeah, absolutely.
So you and I could be here forever, but I'm going to ask you one final question. And there's no system in this podcast, right? So don't think, oh, this is where he asks the same question he asks everyone. No.
I know it's all spontaneous.
Okay. I just thought of this, right? Because ultimately, are we not all just big kids, right? We have that part in us that is ageless, is wondrous, is curious, is a kid. That's just the way it is. Some of us are connected to it, some of us aren't, but it doesn't mean it's not there. It's there for us all. Okay?
Yeah.
So what would you say if you were giving a speech to a bunch of middle schoolers, right? Let's just imagine 1,000 middle schoolers, right? And an 11-year-old, I think 11-year-old is middle school, but anyway.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Okay, an 11-year-old puts her hand up and says, how can I be more happy?
I would say that you can always increase your happiness. Never give up on it. It's a lifelong journey, but you can always become happier. And you can do so by connecting to, it's 11-year-old, so connecting to what you really love and what you really care about. We call this meaning and purpose, but connect to really what you care about. Prioritize your friendships and stay close with your family members. Don't ever lose sight of your friendships and your connected family time as well. Is even though you maybe not like all, love all the subjects that you have in school, know that find what you're passionate about and keep learning and keep growing, because you have so many gifts to give to the world. So find those passions and keep learning and growing. Take really, really good care of your physical body. Never, ever forget that everything you do with your body connects to your mind. So you don't just sleep to not be tired. You sleep because it makes you feel happy. You eat fruits and vegetables because they make you feel happy. You exercise because it makes you feel happy. It's not about looking good on Instagram. It is all the things you do with your body affect your mind. So cherish your physical body and remember that we are all interconnected, that you are never alone. So, some people call it spirituality. Maybe you have a religion in your family, but never, ever feel like you're alone, because we are all connected.
Wow. And I'm sure that every single person who heard that, whether they're 11 or 111, it touched them right in the center of their being. Yeah. Because sometimes when we speak to kids, we forget that the adults are also kids, and they need to be spoken to with the same love, the same heart, the same level of wisdom. And that was very, very wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Well, you also made me think that, as adults, we can be very hard on ourselves. We could be critical, of going back to the expectations, that talking to ourselves, that because we have so much self-talk or thousands of thoughts every single day, that communicating to your inner child is also another path to more happiness and self-compassion, which we all need more of.
We most definitely do. Thank you very, very much. And I'm glad you agreed to be part of this crazy little podcast experiment. I'll tell you a funny story. I've done lots of these now. And once I did one with this fellow, and the producer had forgot to tell him that I didn't know who was coming on. And he came on the podcast and he was like, "You don't even know who I am? Why am I on this podcast?" I was like, "What? The guy didn't tell you I don't know who you are? That's the whole point." Anyway, we figured it out.
It's such a great concept. I love it. I think it's so awesome. Your work and then what you do with the show and the wide, amazing range of people and guests that you have on and the backgrounds. It's pretty awesome.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank
and have
you.
fun in Canada.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello everyone, it's Leon here, aka The Kindness Guy. If you like my videos, which I hope you do, don't forget to press the subscribe button and also to ring the little bell so that the notifications notify you when I have a